I'm going to show you how to make a face mask with a clear window. Everything you need is on the table here in front of me. As is the case with most face masks, you will need fabric, a double layer of fabric, the pattern, which will be published on makefacemask's.com. You can find it there. The ties, and the most important part of this face mask, of course, the actual window. So, what is the window made from? We opted to use sturdy plastic. This is made from laminating pouches. We use them to make things sturdier for the children in our school. If you put it through a laminator, like this one, it heats up, sticks together, and then you get this plastic. You can also use a punched pocket for this. We tested the heat resistance of both of these materials, so you should be able to wash them at 60 degrees Celsius. I'm now going to prepare the mask. So, how do you do this? You take 2 layers and lay them on top of each other with the right side facing up. You lay the face mask on top of it. You lay the pattern on your fabric. Check that you still have a seam allowance of 1 centimeter around all the edges. You need that centimeter to stitch the seams of your mask. Take some pins and pin it in place. Now all you need to do is repeat this for the window. Remember to also leave 1 centimeter along the edges. So now we have the main component of our mask. Another thing that's important, you need to make a small cut in the corners, like this. This will make it easier to fold over the fabric so the window is nice and straight. I'll show you later why I'm doing this. So what am I doing now? I'm removing the pattern. We don't need it anymore. And I turn the mask over. The right side is now on the inside. There. Now we will do exactly the same here and here. I mark out the 1 centimeter seam allowance with pins, so I know where to stitch later. Why do I stick my pins in the fabric like this? Because I will start to stitch from here and will remove the pins one by one until I'm back where I started. There. Right, that's done. Now you can either buy some ties, which is the easiest option, or you can make your own, if you still have some fabric left. Just cut some strips of fabric, fold them double, stitch them, and use those. I opted to use ready-made ties. What's next? You insert the ties into the window opening until the edge of the mask. Remember to insert them parallel with your pin. When the tie is in place, secure it with a pin. Do this for all 4 ties. The mask is now ready to be stitched along all 4 edges, along the pins. So now, I position my needle, lower the foot and stitch along the edge, along the 1 centimeter seam allowance. We now have a basic face mask. As you can see, we have the beginning of a face mask. What do we do next? Now we work on these sides. As you can see, I made a cut in them. The idea is that you fold back the fabric. We will use basting stitches in a contrasting colour, so that we have a neat line to sew in the plastic on the other side. I've chosen this thread for this. You can use a single thread. You don't need to double thread your needle. Those loose stitches will be removed later. So now we sew the fabric around the window together. As you can see, I've already sewn all around the edges. That is why we made the cuts in the fabric earlier, to continue the curved edge. I'm now going to do the same on the other side. What's important here is that you try to sew at the same height as the layer below it. It will look neater around the window. Otherwise, the edges won't be aligned and it won't look as nice. So, let's do the same as we did at the top. As you can see, I've sewn both sides. Now we turn the mask inside out, so the right side is on the outside. How do you do this? You turn the mask inside out and you can pull the ties to straighten out the corners. Do the same on the other side. It's very important that you straighten and smooth out all the edges and corners, because while you can still correct this later, it is more difficult. So, this is what our mask looks like. Now, let's insert the window in here, in the mask. I always bend it a bit so it fits more easily. First on one side, then on the other. You have to really make sure that there's enough plastic here. Here, at the edge of the plastic, you need to check that you have enough space to stitch it. If the plastic's too low, your needle may not pass through it, and then the edge here will be loose. As you can tell, there's enough plastic here and here to start stitching. Now you need to carefully align these two lines. How can you do this? By pinning them together. There. Then you have a better idea of where to stitch. Now, let's stitch the window into the mask. You need to stitch close to the edge. As you can see, our window has been securely stitched into the fabric. Now we just need to remove the basting stitches. We just pull them out, on this side and on the other side. And now we've come to the last step for our face mask. We need to make sure that it fits snugly around the chin and nose. As shown in the manual, I insert 2 pins with 9 centimeters in between them. So if you measure it like this, you insert the first pin here. This merely tells me where I need to sew. So 9 centimeters from here to here, which is approximately to here. There. We do the same at the top, with 6 centimeters in between the pins. So, I align the 3 with the center of the mask. You need to make sure that this, the seam on the inside, is now on the outside. So, I measure this, like this. And then I add another pin on this side. There. Another pin here at 6 centimeters. There. These are the 2 points between which we will create a snug fit. Take a thread in the same color as your stitching thread. You can tie a knot in it, but you can also do it like this. So what do I do now? I take the mask and I insert the needle near the first pin. Make sure that this first stitch is properly secured, because later we will pull this thread to gather the fabric like this. There. Now, it's important that you sew your first stitch on the inside of the seam. So, you stick it in here, like this, and you move along. There. And once you've pulled it through, you repeat this on the other side, on the back of the mask. See, the needle comes out here. We insert it again at the back and make a stitch of the same length. We insert it again there. And we repeat this until the second pin. As you can see, I've done all this by hand. The pins can now be removed. And now we gather the fabric to make sure that the mask fits snugly around the chin. See? It looks just like this, all next to each other. It's important that you hold it very tightly and that you secure your stitch by looping in and out a few times to secure your thread. As you can see, this side is done, and now we will do exactly the same from here to there. This is the last thing we need to do to finish our face mask. As you can see, I've also done the last bit, and we will also gather this. And secure it in the same way as we did on the other side. And that's it. You can cut the last thread and distribute the folds evenly. There, your first face mask. Let me check that I'm holding it the right way up. This is the top. Done. Have fun sewing your own.